I remember like going to see Friday the 13th, which is about 1980, I guess. And when Jason came out of the lake and grabbed the girl at the end, the entire theater just screamed. You don't see that anymore. Everyone's desensitized now, but it was a just collective scream. Mm-hmm. Now if someone screams in the theater, everyone else laughs at them. But you can hear that same thing in the haunted house. You can stand in the haunted house and hear everyone screaming.
We would like to thank our title sponsor, B1 Bank. B1 Bank knows that entrepreneurs like you are always thinking one step ahead. So you need banking solutions that can keep up. It begins with lending. Does your business need working capital or financing for new equipment? How about a real estate or a construction loan? Good news, the B1 lending team is ready to learn your goals and help you find the best lending option available. Now let's talk about uncomplicating your daily cash flow. B1 offers a full array of treasury management services that let you collect funds faster, pay funds more efficiently, and access your information with powerful online tools. Most importantly, B1 understands the value of working with local nonprofits to build a stronger community. They believe in giving back through hands-on involvement with their B1 Community Outreach Program because it's simply the right thing to do. B1 Bank. Be uncomplicated. To learn more, visit b1bank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC. Hello, I'm Andrew McClendon, your host of the Next Entrepreneur Podcast. We're here today in the Propel Production Podcast Studio in Baton Rouge, and we welcome our guest, Mr. Dwayne Sanburn, founder, owner, and artistic director of 13th Gate Haunted House. Dwayne, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so you're in the season, right? It's Halloween season. Can you tell those who might not be familiar with 13th Gate, can you give us an idea of what all you've got going on this year?
Yeah, 13th Gate is a very large haunted attraction. We've been in business now for 29 years, 21 in that location, downtown Baton Rouge. It's a walk-through haunted house that's indoor and outdoor. Employs about 150 actors.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's a really big production that's grown every year. Nationally known now through the years. Got a lot of recognition and continues to grow and change and get bigger and better every year because of the amount of talented people I have working for me.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
So what are your days like now? You're open for business. You're only open 20 to 21 days out of the year during the season.
We opened the last weekend of September, and we run through the weekend after Halloween. Mm-hmm. And we are super busy this time of year. Not a lot of sleep for my crew. If we're not running the haunted house, we're working on the haunted house, doing repairs and things. So it's really hard on everyone, but it's so much fun as well. So everyone enjoys it, but we're all, exhausted.
You sent over some images of the interiors, the exhibits, and it's just so amazing. I mean, the creativity.
I've got some great people working for me that love the haunted house as much as I do.
Yeah.
And it shows, yeah.
Look, you do a really good job of scaring the hell out of people and have received some great recognition for 13th Gate Best Haunted House in the country a number of times. And doing the research on you and your business, I learned a bit about how much work you put into making that a success. So I kind of wanted to dial back the story and figure out how you got to this point. Let's start that conversation. So you grew up in Louisiana?
I did. Central Louisiana, Pineville, Pollock area in there.
And what kind of childhood did you have?
Pretty much normal kid, except I absolutely loved Halloween.
There's a little asterisk there.
Yeah. My mother loved horror movies, and when I was very young, she would drag me kicking and screaming to these scary movies.
No kidding.
Yeah, and I think, so she's responsible.
So your costumes at Halloween you must have leaned towards the scary side.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. and so she loved it. She would bring me, and at some point I quit being terrified and started loving it too. And I can remember when I was, and this is kind of hard to believe nowadays, but I was 12, 1978, and me and a buddy convinced his mother to drop us off at the Dawn Theater on Bolton Avenue, downtown Alexandria, which was a really dark, scary place, to the movie theater to go see Halloween by ourselves.
Oh, my goodness.
And they dropped us off, and we went up to the ticket window, and the guy at the window looked at us like, "You're not getting in here. There's no way I'm letting you in." So we turned around. We tried to find someone that would pose to be our, guardian.
Yeah.
So we got this guy, and he brought us back up. This is our two brothers. We're going to buy tickets for them. And he's like, "No way. They just tried to get tickets in here." So we had to, I don't know how, we called somehow. I don't know. What did we do before cell phones? I can't even remember. But we got picked back up, and we convinced his mother to bring us the next night on Halloween to see Halloween.
Oh, my goodness.
And she was terrified. And it had a big glassed-in area in the back where she chain smoked the whole time while we watched this movie. And, that kind of thing, that was the start of the slasher films, and that kind of thing just had an impression on me. I just loved it. And I remember going to see Friday the 13th, which was about 1980, I guess. And when Jason came out of the lake and grabbed the girl at the end, the entire theater just screamed. You don't see that anymore. Everyone's desensitized now, but it was just collective scream. Mm-hmm. Now if someone screams in the theater, everyone else laughs at them. But you can hear that same thing in the haunted house. You can stand in the haunted house and hear everyone screaming.
I was imagining that.
But the funny thing is, when they come out, they're laughing. Everyone's relieved. They've had a great time.
They survived it.
They survived the horror. Yeah.
So your first haunted house.
So when I was 15 or so, my mother brought me to a haunted house, the Haunted Hotel in Beaumont, Texas, still in business.
Really?
Yeah, a good friend of mine owns it now. And I said, "That's it. This is what I want to do." We were standing in line. Someone came out with a chainsaw and scared half the people away. And I thought, well, that was a bad business decision. They hadn't bought tickets yet. But I thought I could do this. I really like it. And
so how much of a focus did that become for you? I mean, it sounds like, when someone sees something and you say, "Look, that's what I want to do," it sounded like it became a real focus for you.
I always tell, we do field trips at the haunted house, high school kids. Hadn't done it since COVID, but every day in October I would have 50 to 100 kids come through, and we'd walk through with the lights on. We'd talk about special effects, being an actor, scenic design, stuff like that. Well, one of the things I always try to tell everyone, all the kids, was that you have to follow what you love, even if it's the weirdest thing ever. If you want to be successful and happy, you really follow your passion. Really believe that. And then the money will come later.
Yeah.
I just fell in love with that. And when I got out of high school, I thought, okay, how do I do this? And I realized, okay, this is business. I need money. So a friend of mine worked at the VA Medical Center, and he convinced me to go into nursing. And I got a job at Rapides Regional as an orderly. And he was telling me, you need to go into nursing. And I was like, nursing's for women. That's not a guy's thing, back then. Right. That's the mindset I had.
Sure.
And but then once I got in the hospital, I thought, this is the coolest thing ever. Yeah, I really fell in love with nursing. Went to nursing school. VA Medical Center was so great to me. They helped pay for my education and a nursing student program. I got to work as a student nurse in ICU. When I graduated with a bachelor's from Louisiana College, they kept me in ICU. So I had 10 years there. Wonderful people, wonderful place to work. Enjoyed helping veterans, and just really loved it. But the day I graduated, I rented a building downtown, old building, and started working on a haunted house.
you went into nursing to, as much as you enjoyed it, the initial motivation was to
make enough money to open up a business. Yeah.
And a haunted house in particular.
Yeah. So my dad was an entrepreneur. He owned many businesses throughout his life. And when he saw what I was doing, he said, I don't know what you're doing here. I think you need to quit this Halloween crap. I don't think this is practical. So I remember
for a number of reasons.
For a number of reasons, he was.
Right? I mean, number
he had
one,
a right to be concerned.
How many days can you be open?
And you have to understand also that this was a different time. This was 30 years ago.
Right.
There was no haunted houses around or any other kind of unique entertainment like that.
Right.
Now it's much more acceptable
right.
to do things like this. So the day we opened, which was about a year and a half later, he came down and the line was around the block. And he said, maybe there's something to this Halloween crap after all.
No kid. So
and then later on, he was very proud.
Okay, so you did the nursing gig for 10 years.
Yeah. So I did both.
You were doing both simultaneously. Yeah. So
and I love the medical field. Yeah, it was great. And the great thing about working at the VA is I had 5 weeks vacation a year, and I convinced them to let me take it all at once in October. Yeah. So that's how I was able to.
And then on your off times throughout the rest of the years when you're working on.
I worked, not only did I work at the VA, I worked for agency on the side.
Meaning you could do like home health stuff? Or?
I picked up, per diem, like if Cabrini needed a nurse for the day, we would go, wherever they needed me, a nurse at home, wherever.
I see.
So I got a lot of experience in different fields. I worked adolescent psych to, you name it, ICU. But it paid very well on top of my other job. And then whatever time I had left, I was working on the haunted house with the money I made. So.
I was thinking as I was doing the research on you with that ICU, intensive care unit at a VA hospital. I'm sure you saw some pretty raw scenes.
A lot of people ask me, what scares you? And I always say, the real stuff scares me.
Yeah.
This is theater.
Yeah.
So, I've seen it.
I was thinking that it probably brought a lot of credibility to the scenes that some of the scenes that you then tried to create in some of your, sets.
I did. I think one of the first scenes I built was an old hospital. Yeah. So yeah.
I think in order to be effective at scaring people, there's got to be a root of reality, in your scene, in your set.
Sure.
And to have had that experience, I found that kind of interesting.
People are afraid. Everyone's has individual phobias.
Right.
We're all scared of something different.
Right.
So, we try to, at the haunted house, we try to have a little bit of everything. So no matter what you're afraid of, it's probably there waiting for you.
And so that first business was in Alexandria?
It was Louisiana Nightmares.
Nightmares.
Opened, I want to say 93, 94, somewhere there. And
how did that work? What did that first Halloween look like?
We worked with the Louisiana 4-H Foundation, and they supplied the actors, and we made a deal with them. We would give them a percentage of proceeds, and they supplied the actors, and it was a wonderful merger for everybody. And after a couple of years, they came to me and said, "Hey, we got an opportunity for you to put a haunted house on LSU campus at the Livestock Show Arena, John and Parker Coliseum."
Right.
So we jumped right on it. It's like, yeah, this is great.
Were you doing both at that time? Or
we did. We kept Louisiana Nightmares open. And I had enough good people working for me that I kind of split our group up.
Oh, wow.
And
so Dwayne, in those first year or two, just starting a new business, could you get enough revenue to make it pay?
No, that's why I had kept nursing.
Right.
And I was perfectly fine working both for a long time. until the haunted house started making enough money. You got to feed the baby till the baby can feed itself.
Right. Right.
So
the passion was there, the interest and creativity was there. The economics weren't there initially, but that grew over time.
Right.
And so when you got into the LSU, what was that called initially? The dungeon or?
1998. I had an idea where we would just rotate these portable haunted houses around. Did not work well. We had one in Beaumont, one location in Beaumont as well. So the first year, 1998, was a dungeon, and then Carnevil 1 and 2, and then our final year there, 2001, was Psycho Cinema. And we just changed the entire haunt, built a new haunt. And we're portable. We had 5 18-wheeler loads of stuff we would haul down, and for 2 weeks we would set up, and for 2 or 3 days we would tear down. And then in 2001, they came to me and said, hey, we messed up. We have a horse show coming in tomorrow. You got to get out. Like, okay, this is 18,000 square foot haunted house. We got to be out in 12 hours, you're telling me. So we worked nonstop. We did not make our deadline. I think I didn't sleep for like 3 days, and I left there and I went straight into the hospital.
No kidding.
Yeah, I was
from
sick.
exhaustion.
Yeah, from exhaustion.
Oh
yeah.
My goodness.
And I had to reevaluate things, and I'm like, okay, I can't do this. And I was already unhappy with the quality of the haunted house because we had to tear it down and rebuild it, and we're in the dirt, and it was just a mess. And so we started looking very hard for a building and found the old Steinberg's building downtown
on St. Philip Street.
St. Philip Street, and moved in there.
Are you still in Alexandria doing the nursing thing at this point?
No. Well, let's see. I'm not sure what year I finally quit. I had 10 years in.
Yeah.
So whatever that was. But at some point, I was so busy, I couldn't do both anymore.
Right.
And the haunted house had picked up the slack. It was making enough money to where I'm like, okay, and the great thing was I had my license, so I knew I could go back to work at any time.
You said that at the Ag Center you're around, what, 18,000 feet?
Yeah.
So you go into the St. Philip's location. That's a much bigger building.
That's about 40,000 square feet.
40,000
yeah,
square
with
feet.
the outdoor area as well.
And so, was that a rental? Did you lease it?
We did lease it, yes.
Yes. To begin to fill out a building that size, now you're taking, more of everything, including capital. How did you work through those times?
It's always been a risk, I guess, like any business, right?
Right.
Anytime you make a big change, it's a risk. I always just felt like, I know this is going to be successful just because I love it so much. I don't even care. I'm going to do it somehow. If I have to go back and work 3 other jobs, it's going to be successful. It didn't make me blink to jump in to something. I'd already jumped in several times before, so, and I just felt like, the numbers were there. People were interested. They loved the haunted house and what we were doing so far, and it was growing each year. And I knew if I could just get the quality up, it would be better and more people would come. And somewhere along the way, one of the guys that was working for me got on a movie set. It was Hilary Swank's The Reaping. It was being filmed in the old Walmart building on Perkins, now long gone, tore down.
Sure.
He called me and said, come see these sets. So I went over there, and I was blown away. Like, this is the way we need to be building a haunted house. This just incredible. It was a morgue scene and a sewer scene and just all these horror sets that most of it didn't even make it in a movie. Beautiful and it's very scary, very, well detailed. And so I found, I walked around and I found they had scenic. And I said, you have to come help me. You have to come work for me. And so he agreed. He came over.
Kidding.
Yeah, he came over and I hired him. And
I mean, he's working on a big-time movie production.
Anthony Henderson, amazing sculptor, amazing artist, came over and showed my crew how to build movie sets, different from, black plywood walls.
Right.
And the haunted house just started transforming immediately. And it just went crazy. The detail went crazy. And then it wasn't long after that we started getting national recognition. And people were like, what's going on over here?
Isn't it something?
Yeah, yeah. So very thankful for that, for that happening. And, the movie industry, really has taken off in Louisiana since then.
So when you look at this new way of building your sets, clearly had to be significantly more expensive.
Yeah, but again, I knew that
it was going to pay off.
It's going to pay off.
Yeah.
You have to invest.
So did you always do that internally, just from the money that you had earned either in your nursing job or in your haunted houses, or did you have to go outside for capital or equity?
In the very beginning, I had some friends invest some small amounts of money to help, and so that was something early on, and I paid them all off early on, and then finally it was making enough money to where I didn't have to. I remember I went to the bank one time early on, and they kind of laughed me out of the bank.
They weren't big into haunted houses.
Well, they didn't even understand it.
Yeah.
Like most people back then.
Sure.
So I had to do other things. But I mean, I was just, we were, and I had, in the beginning I had a partner too for a year or two, and then I bought him out, and he invested some money into it. I would do anything I could to keep it going.
Yeah, that's
and that's what you have to do when
you
do something like this.
I mean, that is a unique entrepreneurial venture.
Yeah.
Where you have such a limited window, and you spend money all year long getting ready for that window. Hannis T. Bourgeois provides accounting services, litigation support, as well as tax and assurance services to companies and individuals throughout the region. With offices in Baton Rouge, Denham Springs, New Orleans, and Hammond, their team of professionals have a wide range of specialized expertise and give personalized attention to each client they work with. HTB serves all types of business structures, including corporations, private businesses, startups, individuals, and more. So call them today to learn how they can help you. Reach out to them by phone or learn more at their website, www.htbcpa.com. A little testimonial here. HTB has been my accounting firm for over 30 years and have guided my initial company from startup to expanding to numerous operating companies. HTB has provided guidance in helping us expand across the U.S., doing business in more than 30 states. Flat out, HTB has made all the difference in the world to our business. This podcast is sponsored by NAI Ladder & Blum, Louisiana's leading commercial real estate firm, offering expertise in every discipline, including office, industrial, retail, multifamily, and corporate services. Their agents guide you through the real estate process from start to finish, using a host of marketing, prospecting, and analytical technologies. As leading entrepreneurs, your valuable time and resources should align with the most trusted name in commercial real estate, NAI Ladder & Blum. Learn how they can work for you at www.ladderblum.com. So, Dwayne, you eat, sleep, and breathe Halloween, right? But
pretty much, yeah.
It's all about the creativity, right? I mean, that's what became clear to me is your business is just this creative endeavor. I can see where you would never tire of that.
Well, not every day is rainbows and unicorns, or in my case, I guess black cats and bats. But even my worst day, I wouldn't want to do anything else.
Yeah,
so
interesting. Alice and I were talking about 13th Gate, and she reminded me that my wife and her mother, Allison's mother, went to 13th Gate. This would have been 24 years ago. 23 years, something like that. And my wife was pregnant with our youngest daughter at the time. They were all just like wondering if she should really be going
Yep.
into the haunted house?
We get a lot of people ask us if they should go in the haunted pregnant. We tell them it's not recommended at all. We had one person that went into labor, and that was enough for us. We got them out as quickly as we possibly could.
Oh my goodness, that is hilarious. I enjoyed reading about the part of the creative process where you have these different spaces in the haunted house, and that each space tells a story. And then you guys work really hard on crafting that story and making it come to life in the sets. Tell us that process and how involved that is.
Well, I was on another movie set. Anthony Henderson was working on a movie and invited us in Shreveport to Year One, which was a Jack Black film and horrible, $100 million movie down the drain. But the sets were, again, incredible. And it was this old barn scene and very, very detailed. And as I was walking through it, I looked in the corner, and it was this hay bed, and it had all these little trinkets and half-eaten food and stuff, something that never would be in the movie. But it told this incredible story just looking at that one spot. And that kind of left an impression on me that, if you want to develop a scene, it needs to tell a story. And so when I design a room or a whole series of rooms that has a particular theme, I want to know what's the history of it. Why is it here? Why is there? If there's a character in this room, why is it in here? Is it a creature? Is it a person? Whatever it is, I develop its whole backstory, and I try to tell a story with the theme, with the props, everything. Now, most of the customers who go through like this, they don't see any of that. But it helps the actor. If you can give the actor a great set, a great costume, a great makeup, a great story, then that actor becomes the character you create. It's very easily. And so it's all that detail creates immersion. And when customers go through, it's a suspension of disbelief. Like when you're in a great movie, you're pulled in, you forget you're sitting in the movie theater. Right. We want the same thing. We want you to walk in and look at this slaughterhouse and smell it and touch it, and you start thinking, am I really in a slaughterhouse? You forget you're in the haunted house, and you see the details and someone's written on the wall and whatever. Then when the guy comes out with the chainsaw, you really have to question whether he's real or not. Oh my God. So all of that pays off.
So it's about attacking all of the senses.
All of the senses. Haven't figured out taste yet, but the rest.
Yeah, but smell.
Oh, we got some horrific smells throughout the haunted house. You would not.
And so you pipe those in? How does that work?
Yeah, there's companies that create haunted house smells, and so we use a lot of those, and then we've got a few custom ones that we're very proud of.
I read about a morgue. One of your areas was a morgue scene, right? And you had mixed scents of corpse and hospital.
Yeah.
You've mentioned your actors several times. Are there actors in every area, in every set? Are there any areas where it's mechanical or whatever? How prevalent is the use of actors throughout the house?
We have animatronics. We have quite a few different sorts, from small things that pop out to giant creatures. They're more distraction than anything. I think you cannot replace an actor for a great scare, and our haunted house is a little unique as well because it's more interactive theater. There's plenty of people scaring you and jumping out, but you're also going to be immersed in a story. So when you walk through London, a Bobby's going to warn you. You're going to see all these different characters, and you're intruding on whatever's happening. It's happening whether you're there or not, and you walk in on it. So it's more interactive theater.
That's fascinating. What time would you open up on a Thursday?
6:30.
6:30. And then what time does your cast show up?
4:30, 5 o'clock for makeup.
And how many makeup people does it take to do what you do?
We have a huge makeup department, 12 makeup artists plus interns. And then we have a huge stage management crew, costumers, security, maintenance. I mean, the behind the scenes crew is very large.
That is so fascinating. It's so many things that people wouldn't see.
Right.
To make it all happen. So you do a lot of research, right? You have to, from what I understand about having researched your business, you have to constantly change year in and year out.
Right.
You can't you may have one thing or a couple of things that are reused from time to time, but when you close, I read you start tearing it all down.
We do. Well, the haunted house is so big, we can't tear it all down.
Yeah.
We probably change 20-25% each year. Now we'll still add a different scare or move something around in a room, but we try to do a couple big themes every year.
I see.
And that takes us, from the minute we close the door, we're working on next year, and 5 minutes before we open the door, we're finishing up.
I was curious what that week or two looks like before you open.
Sure hell.
I thought that might be the answer, but I wasn't sure after 29 years of whether y'all had smoothed out some of that.
I wonder every year if this is the year I'm going to have an extra day somewhere, but I'm always 2 weeks behind. I don't know.
Never has happened.
It never happened.
So let's talk about where you get some of your ideas from and how you do your research. I've read about travel that you've done and things like that.
I'm always looking. We may go. I love the theme parks. I go to Disney probably once a year, Universal. So not only do I like to go and look at theming, which you can't find any better detail. Also, I like to look at how they move people around and logistics and stuff. I find it fascinating. We can be anywhere, and I'll find a cave to go in or something. I just love that kind of stuff. So I just kind of fall. And then I also know a lot of haunted house owners. We network, we share ideals. We go to a trade show every year.
I was imagining there being an industry association, a haunted house industry association.
Sure.
I was like, you guys must have a blast doing that.
Oh, it's very fun. Yeah. It's in St. Louis every year. Transworld Exhibits puts it on, and it's an amazing experience. It's a place where you can buy anything from a rubber mask to a giant monster, you name it, anything in between. Anything has to do with Halloween is there.
That's fascinating. I was at Universal with my grandson, Julie and I were recently, and I think it was Spider-Man exhibit, but you go through the queue, right? And the queue's it's like part of the exhibit, right? And whereas you used to just stand in these rails going back and forth, but now you're in the middle of the stuff and you've got these, digital screens going and these characters playing and in control panels on the walls and lights flashing. And it's like you're, in the real scene. So they've taken that experience of standing in a line to making that part of the experience.
Sure.
Which I found really cool. I also found it interesting that how much feedback it sounds like you get from your customers and the sense of demand of continually improving. There's something there.
When I started, it was very simple to scare people, and they didn't expect a lot. Like we said, like I was saying during Halloween, the movies. I mean, people screened it somewhere along the way. They got desensitized to all of that, and and then the theme parks grew and become more complicated. So people expect bigger and better and more special effects each year. So yeah, we're always looking to try to improve ourselves for sure.
Yeah, and I was thinking, okay, so how does Dwayne get feedback from other operators because they're all open at the same time?
It is tough to go see other haunted attractions. We still try to go, if someone's open, we're not. One of my favorite haunts, I Got two, The Darkness in St. Louis, Netherworld in Atlanta. Netherworld's open every night. So I've been to it a few times. Halloween Horror Nights I've been to a few times. We just leave on a Monday. They're open. But I've seen many haunts all season. And there's other, our trade show puts on something called Legendary Haunt event and a haunt tour. And it will pick a host haunt that will stay open an extra week for the industry.
Oh, I see.
So we're able to see other haunts that way as well.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's very good. Let's talk about escape rooms and expanding your service. So tell us how you discovered escape rooms and how those work for you.
I have a friend in Seattle who owns a haunted attraction. He sent me a news article 7 years ago or 8 now, I guess, on an escape room in Canada. And I thought, wow, this is the next thing right here. They were not in the country.
In the U.S.?
There might have been a few.
So how do they work? What is an escape room?
So you're locked in a themed room for an hour. And you have to figure out the puzzles, find the secret passages, and escape before time runs out. To do that, you have to work together, communicate, and it's a huge team building event.
Right.
Very, very fun. People absolutely love it. So we flew up there. We played. We went to Toronto. There were 60 escape rooms in Toronto. We played 17 in 2 days, and immediately I thought, oh, we can do this. This is not far off from what we already do. And it just so happened I had rented the warehouse next to me a year or so before and didn't know what I was going to do with it. And so it worked out perfectly.
So the escape room is something completely separate.
It's completely separate. It's open year-round, which was great for my business.
Right.
So we built 2 to test it out, and everyone loved them. And so we continued to build more. And now we have 8 escape rooms there.
No kidding.
Yeah, and it's open year-round, 7 days a week, in its 7th year. Internationally known now. We've received many, many awards for our escape rooms. And it's really because the talent I already have there translated very easily to creating escape rooms as well.
So you're able to hold on to talent year-round.
Yes.
As a result of that?
Yeah. I've had the same crew for many years. And like I said, they love the haunted house as much as I do, and working there, it's not easy. It's not an easy job every day, for sure. It's tough work.
Yeah.
It's still construction. It's still fun.
Okay, another new thing I believe is a relatively new Carnevil.
Carnevil Haunted Midway, located across the street from the 13th Gate. Carnival area where we have free concerts every Friday and Saturday night. We've got a big stage. We have merchandise, food, acts throwing, 5-minute escape games, circus acts, just lots of fun stuff that's free to enter.
So you have a captive audience with your 13th Gate, right? There's a lot of people. On a busy night, Dwayne, how many, on a really busy night, how many people could come through?
It varies, thousands, hundreds or thousands, depends on what's going on in Baton Rouge and the weather and so many factors.
You know the most you've ever run through there in a night?
Not exactly, several thousand.
Several thousand people are coming to downtown Baton Rouge. They're going through your haunted house. They can connect with your escape rooms, and then they can spend time at Carnevil. So
sure,
that seems like a good expansion of your business lines there.
Yeah.
It's worked out well.
It has.
Good. And then what is this New Orleans cemetery? Necropolis?
Oh, well, before we had the carnival, we had put an outside maze, which was a cemetery.
A cemetery maze.
It ran for 6 years, 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Carnevil has replaced that.
It replaced it, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the recognition that you've gotten over the years. You've been ranked #1 haunted house in the country a number of times. What does that do for your business? And what does that mean to you and by extension to your employees.
Well, it's great recognition for the people who work so hard
Yeah.
on the haunted house. So I'm very proud of them and everything they put into it.
Well, it sounds like some of the places that you've mentioned that there's some really high-end competition across the country.
There's some great haunted attractions across the country.
So to be the number one.
I would say if there's probably 20 fantastic haunts in the country, maybe 40. I mean, there's always someone new.
Right.
If I'm on any list with that group, I'm very happy.
Yeah.
They're all, and I know all of them, and they're all good friends of mine, and they all work just as hard, and they're all uniquely creative. And all of our haunted houses are different. So, when you get down to the top 20, top 30 haunts, this really subjective. Everyone's different. I love going to all of them. So
that's so cool. So when you look at what it takes to succeed in your business, what is taking you to succeed? You look at your competitors, what is taking them. What are the key elements to success in that business model?
Every year, I'm on the buyer's board for Transworld or Tradeshow, and we host a buyer's board breakfast for newcomers. So we'll have probably 100 new people come in every year to the Tradeshow that want to open up a haunted house. Of those 100, 80 won't be returning because they stood out in the line and they counted the ticket sales and they thought, oh, I'm going to make some money. The 20 that are there that remain are the ones who said, I love Halloween, I love haunted houses, and I'm going to make this successful no matter what. And it's not about the money. So, as I said before, I think what makes it successful is the drive, the love, and then finding people who have that same love that I have. So that's what's made it successful.
And what do you think is your talent in retaining good talent? Like, why is it that you've been successful in holding on to these employees and having them grow in your business over time? What is it that you're doing right?
It's a great job. It's a fun job. I mean, creating, you get to create something unique and interesting, and we're always doing something different. It's never boring. It's a challenge to, especially these days, to keep good employees, I think, and to find new talent.
Yeah.
It's been the biggest challenge for us. We would love to hire more people, but it's hard to find people right now. Just even with actors, we would have auditions. We'd have 400 people show up for auditions.
No kidding.
And nowadays, we have to do twice as many audition dates. We have to advertise. We never had to do that before. I mean, we spend a lot of money on advertising, and we'll get 120, 150 people. And, I mean, we really got to push to get those. And we continue to hire throughout the month of October. So, I mean, it's just the same challenges that every business owner has right now, post-COVID.
Pivotal is pleased to sponsor the Next Entrepreneur podcast. Pivotal is a commercial building contractor that performs new building construction, building maintenance, tenant improvements, renovations, and additions. Pivotal has been in business for over 25 years. The Pivotal team is simply the best. They have an impeccable safety record and they crush schedules. A focus on quality and professional communication is at the root of their success. Pivotal also performs programs for clients who build in multiple markets with current projects in Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi. If you are looking for the perfect addition to your project team, a contractor who can deliver the results you need to succeed, Pivotal is the one. When it's critical, call Pivotal. They can be found online at pivotalperforms.com. Look, you've got some really big-time coverage, national coverage, MTV, USA Today, the Travel Channel, for 13th Gate. How has that impacted your business?
It's shown how much, on a national scale, how much we've worked. And a lot of people have now traveled to see us.
I was curious, like how far someone may have come to see
England.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we get people from all over the country
Right.
that fly in to see the haunted house.
Yeah, so you get coverage on the Travel Channel. There's people who watch that like to travel.
Sure. Grim Life Collective influencer on YouTube just filmed a walkthrough, lights on, and we're getting tons of people that are flying in to see us now because of that.
That's fantastic. Yeah. On this podcast, we have spoken to a lot of our guests about the impacts of COVID on their business. Yeah, I read a lot of business books, and I found it interesting how frequently the Great Recession came up in all these different books. And the reason is because it seriously impacted so many businesses that it's just something that had to be addressed. And now similarly is COVID. And it impacted some people in a devastating way and other people's in a very positive way. But you're an attraction where people are in lines and everything. How did that work for you?
Well, in the beginning, we thought we're not going to be able to open, and we worked very closely with the state fire marshal and the governor's office. And originally, the governor's office said no Halloween events, and then they backed it up and said, okay, you could open, but only have 25 people in the building at a time. And so we went back and forth for a while and developed a COVID plan, which was very extensive, that included a reservation system. You came up like a restaurant. You checked in, and we tell you, okay, you're going to get a text in 2 hours. Come back and get in line.
No kidding.
Yeah, so it was a mess, but it worked. It was just a lot to implement, but we got open, and we're very thankful that everyone worked with us to help us get open, and made it through it and had a decent year.
I heard that you integrated masks.
We did.
And the costumes for the actors.
Sure did. Yeah, we had an entire system of how to bring actors in. They stayed away from each other. The entire system from one end to the other was COVID friendly, and it was tough to implement. But the mask, for example, we themed all the masks out, and it worked. Yeah, we got through it.
Okay, let's talk about technology. And I was envisioning when you opened your first haunted house. Could you ever have imagined how things would have changed to where you are today at that time?
No. I'll tell you what, things have just gotten more and more complex every year. For example,
like more technologically sophisticated?
Yes. Composite Effects is this company that Kenny Decker owns. He started, he was working at the haunted house. He created our first silicone mask. Now silicone masks are very much a staple of the haunted house industry. But he's has a very big business in Baton Rouge, CFX. And, that's one example, the silicone mask, which if you've ever seen them, they're very stretchy. They're very detailed. They stick to your face. So when you move your face, it moves. It's not like a rubber mask. Oh, wow. And they're almost, you see people robbing banks with these masks because they look so real. Probably not something he wants to, should say, but yeah, they're amazing.
B1 Bank is our title sponsor, yeah. So we might have to clip that out.
Sorry that. No, so they're very detailed, but that's silicone mask, for example. The rubber bodies. I have a good friend who owns Ghost Ride Productions, and they build bodies for the haunted house industry, and they have over the last 10 years become so realistic that you would be hard pressed to, if I just laid one out on the street, it wouldn't be 10 minutes before the police were there. They're hard to tell whether they're real or not. So that fits into all of our detail and immersion and everything. They're very real. So those sorts of things have developed. Animatronics are so sophisticated now.
And what is that?
It could be anything from just a audio animatronic, like you see at Disney, the Mummy ride has an animatronic. They either jump out at you or they talk.
And it looks like
it could be
it
any
looks
creature.
like it jumps onto the front of the car and
Yeah,
sure.
It could be dinosaurs, could be anything.
Right.
Anything you could think of, they make. So all of these things have gotten more and more complex and realistic. Giant spiders, animatronic spiders to people. Anything you could think of. And we do flying effects, flying rigs. There's all kinds of lighting effects and smoke effects, and it's never ending amount of stuff that you can get for a haunted house now.
It seems like you would have this endless task of comparing, all these options and how much they cost, and then how much it costs to put them into a set versus some kind of budget. I mean, how do you balance that?
Yeah,
because it seems so unclear. I mean, it's like it's endless, seemingly endless stream of options.
Well, I set my budget according to how well we did the year before, So this October's, whatever we end up with profit, I set a portion of that aside for the budget for the haunted house for the next year. So, it could be a big year, if we have a hurricane and it rains every night, then it may not be as big a budget as if we had perfect weather, how well LSU plays, things like that.
I was thinking about the energy that you put into the creativity, the design of the sets and everything. And I'm thinking, like, is that a product? Is that something Dwayne would sell? Like, this set and all of this creativity that went into building this story, is there value there that you could, either through a combination of video or digital images, have a sellable product as someone else is trying to do, and where you're acting as a consultant? Is that a thing?
I have consulted other haunted attraction or people who want to open a haunted attraction before, but I've never sold any designs. But there's plenty of people who do design haunted attractions. But I really feel like I couldn't transfer what I have to another haunt. It's very unique to the artist who designs it and the crew who builds it. I don't think you can just replicate that and have the same effect. I think it stays in its place.
Yeah, so it seems like there's an authenticity in the creation of that set that is not transferable.
Right.
Which is kind of interesting. So look, as we start to wrap up, I wanted to ask you about your long-term vision for your business. You'd mentioned previously about expanding when you were in Alexandria, and then you came down to LSU Ag Center, and you had something in Beaumont. When you look at what you have now and how well you execute on that, what is your vision for your business moving forward?
I think we'll continue to build our escape rooms and develop them. We just finished our 8th one, which is called The Disappearance of Flight 13, which is a flying plane. And it's kind of an episode of the Twilight Zone, I would say it's comparable to.
Yeah.
I love doing the escape rooms. It's the haunted house, but more interactive. So those have developed, and we'll continue to do the haunted house and push. We're looking at interactive projection effects and all kinds of new stuff coming up. So that will continue as well. I have no desire to go to another location or anything at this point. We've got plenty of work where we're at.
Again, I keep coming back to the fact that you're open, a number of weeks out of the year, yet it's a year-round endeavor with hundreds of people ultimately. And it's just so fascinating that so much work goes into your product throughout the year that your plate is full.
Right.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So are they, the other thing, and you probably have answered this, but this other thought I had is when I've looked at this other business, a gentleman I'm getting ready to speak with, who does Mardi Gras floats, Mardi Gras World, Barry Kern. And, they're in creating these themes and these stories and all this creative work, but they've extended to doing that, outsourcing that to Disney and other places like that. Is that kind of off the table? Or are you just going to stick with your product?
We've done a little bit of movie work, and we've had some movies shot at the haunted house.
Really?
Yeah, I always tell everyone the scariest. We've had 7 movies shot over there. The scariest one was Pitch Perfect 2. It's a musical.
I was, on a personal note, I was reading that you're a big fan of Harry Potter, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings. Does that all sound accurate?
Yeah, anything horror, fantasy, sci-fi. I'm a nerd. Yeah.
Yeah. The Harry Potter stuff was so well done. Have you been to Harry Potter World?
Oh, yeah, many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, the detail is, it's just very inspiring.
Yeah. It's amazing that came from the mind of one individual, ultimately that whole story, and it takes on a life of its own, but so well done. But you saw that Hagrid, the actor that plays Hagrid, passed away, which I was sorry to see, because he was great.
Yeah.
He just he did a great job. Just brought a lot of joy to, my kids were totally into Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Well, look, anything else that we need to know about 13th Gate? Anything you want to update us on with what's going on this season?
Well, we're open Thursday through Sunday, and then Halloween, which is a Monday this year, and then the weekend after, the Friday and Saturday after Halloween, we do something special called Flashlight Fright Nights. That's where we cut off all the lights in the haunted house. We give you a couple little finger lights to go through with your group. Completely different show. We're known for our detail. There's no detail during this time. It's completely dark, and we can see you, but you can't see us.
Oh, my gosh.
And if you're not scared enough when you go through the haunted house during the normal time, try Flashlight Fright Nights. People come back for this event most people have already been through the normal show, and they come back because it's so much more terrifying, if you can believe that. And it's very popular and very fun. It's our last couple nights for the year. It's the way we close the show every year. And we have Carnevil Haunted Midway's got some fantastic local bands that are playing every Friday and Saturday night. So come out and support them. They're awesome.
Excellent. Look, I am fascinated with your business. And I think for one reason is that it's so rooted in creativity. And I can just sense how fun that would be. I mean, if you're a musician and you love making music, why would you ever stop? Or a sculptor? And
right.
It's
no longer work, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm intrigued with that. But the fact that there's so many moving parts to your business that you've described to us in the last hour that make you have to be this really interesting combination of a artistic director and a hardcore businessman to be able to do what you do and make enough money to continue to do it, or make enough money to be extremely successful at what you do. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
And I wish you continued success in all that you do. I'm so happy to have learned about your business and to have met you. So
I appreciate you putting me on the program. It's been awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
There's so many different entrepreneurs' journeys, and some people end up in business through some circuitous route. But I also love the stories like Dwayne's, where he knew what he wanted to do when he was 15 years old, after having gone through his first haunted house. And then his plan, he just worked it. And the fact that the way that things lined up, and he self-funded the vast majority of his operations, either from his job or from the revenues that he created for his business, is just so interesting. I love his business and how creative it is, and the fact that he's created something at a national caliber here in Baton Rouge is really exciting as well. So great pleasure to meet Dwayne. We appreciate you guys watching, and we'll catch you next time. We would like to thank our title sponsor, B1 Bank. They can be found online at b1bank.com. The Next Entrepreneur is produced by Propel Productions. You can find more information at propelyourstory.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Next Entrepreneur podcast and hit the bell for notifications. You can also follow us on social media. The links are in the description below.